Good morning, everybody. Jordan Dove here, Monday, November 8th, 2021. I hope you all had a great weekend. I hope you did something productive, but if you didn't, you just hung out, watched football, whatever. I did, watch the Cowboys get crushed. That sucked, but it happens. But hey, let's get to the 10-year Treasury bond yield, 1.484%. That's up slightly from Friday's close, but good news, the 30-year fixed mortgage national average, 3.09%. That's down, which what I believe was reflected from the 10-year yield being down last week to end the week, okay? A lot of questions from so many people, some great questions about land, where to move to protect yourself from a crash, so many emails and book requests, guys. Thank you. These have been put in the mail for those who requested hard copies. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and if you know somebody who could find this information valuable, please share it with them. I would greatly appreciate it. Okay, let's go into national real estate market updates. Residential construction slipped about 0.5% in September, but that month's pace of construction was no doubt affected by Hurricane Ida. Our thoughts and prayers go out to all those families and people affected by Hurricane Ida. The trend is upward, and the spend was a healthy 7.8% ahead of September last year. As you heard Fed Chairman Powell last week, the Fed finally announced it would begin tapering its purchases of treasuries and mortgage-backed securities later this month. These purchases have supported low mortgage rates, which, as I predicted last week, interest rates should be creeping up. So they're down right now. That's good. If you have a higher interest rate, you might want to consider refinancing, save you some money every month. Money is still cheap out there. So in my opinion, go borrow it while it's cheap. If you're in the market to purchase a home, residential property, land, whatever, money is cheap. It's a hedge against inflation. As inflation rises, you're locked in at a low cost for that dollar. Go do it if you have the means and you're in the market to do that, okay? Just my opinion. There's been considerable amount of disagreements over how sharply those rates will rise, but most analysts see them remaining near historical lows, and some feel rising mortgage rates could help cool off overheated home price growth. In our market, we are seeing it cool off from those crazy summer months. It is not as competitive. People are not paying crazy amounts over appraisal, at least with what I'm seeing. So if you're in the market to purchase, have your agent negotiate fair market value. Do not waive the appraisal contingency. Do not pay crazy amounts over. If you got to do a little bit because there's multiple offers, I totally understand, but try to pay fair market value. Okay, guys? That's really, really important. We had some big gains. November began with the equity markets posting their biggest weekly returns in more than 4 months. And if you follow Greg Manarino, you know that all three major stock indexes surged to new record highs. We just keep going higher and higher. They say buy the dips. We buy the dips. It goes higher. It's crazy the amount of money that is in this market. But surely the Fed announced it would begin tapering its monthly bond purchases, but Chair Powell insisted they were in no rush to raise rates. Even bonds did well after he said inflation should be tamer by Q2 and Q3 of 2022, which is weird because other presidents of other Fed reserves, federal banks, they are saying that interest rates will rise next year. So I don't know what Chairman Powell is saying. I really believe he is just kicking the can down the road for what is inevitable. And what is inevitable is that interest rates are going to rise. That's my belief. I predicted it. 2 years of increasing interest rates. Okay? So this is interesting. They always talk about jobs and how great the economy is doing. Unbridled investor joy came with the 531,000 jobs added in October, which has been the first upside surprise in 3 months under the Biden administration. We're still 4 million jobs below the pre-pandemic number, but ISM services and manufacturing indexes showed solid growth. But what's interesting about that is they added 531,000 jobs, but there were 1,139,000 first-time initial unemployment claims. That's a net loss of 608,000 jobs. So they're touting these great job numbers, but over 1 million people filed for first-time unemployment benefits as we're moving into the seasonal hiring period, which is really interesting. So they're telling you jobs look great, but we lost over 600,000 jobs. So is it great? I don't know. The Dow ended up 1.4% to 36,328 points. The S&P ended last week up 2% to 4,698, and the NASDAQ up 3.1% to 15,972. All record highs. A lot of money being pumped in the market. Follow Greg Manarino for the investment stuff, okay? Did you know that Freddie Mac's chief economist observed that the housing market remains favorable for consumers as rates remain below pre-pandemic levels and you continue to support sustainable purchases and refinance opportunities? Okay, so a lot of you guys had questions about land. What to do with land. I want to address that and tell you a story I heard recently, and it's something we're actually with our group of investors considering to do here shortly. It has a pretty low cost, low entry. This is a business I think you can run, but a few ways you can monetize land if you have raw land is I have one of my best friends in Louisiana. They have thousands of acres of farmland, and they have a joke. That they say, and it's when you're ready to send a kid to college, you harvest some timber. So they have a lot of forest. They cut the wood. That's how they send one of the kids to college, and that's what they do. Other ways you can monetize your land is you can it's hard to store boats and RVs and campers and things like that. You can retrofit your land. You can also lease out your land on a term lease and have somebody come in and build an asset on the property, and you collect that lease payment to cover your cost of the land, and they run their business on your land. There's several things you can do. If you live in countryside, you can allow grazing to ranchers and farmers. But today what I want to talk about is monetizing land to use as a campsite, a privately owned campsite. Okay, so I'm going to share a story with you guys. So just to note up front that a 15% return per month or 180% in a year. It's not bad, and this seems scalable too. Buy land in varying places for $100,000 plus, make about $1,500 a month. Okay, so you know what's amazing in business is there are literally a zillion technical terms and ways to make money in this wild world of commerce that we live in. Okay, so I want to talk about monetizing land. A lot of you asked questions about how to monetize land. What do you think about owning land? There's a famous quote that says, "Don't wait to buy real estate and wait." And another one is that they're not making any more land. Okay, so think about that. Okay, so we're going to talk about monetizing land. There's several ways actually you can do it, such as converting it to boat or RV storage. One of my best friends in Louisiana, their family is agriculture farmers. They have thousands of acres in northern Louisiana. They have a joke that they say, but it's absolutely true. They say that when you're ready to send one of the family members to college, you chop some trees. Right? They harvest the lumber, and that's what they do. Okay, but just to note up front, that 15% return per month or is 180% a year, and it's not bad. And this idea I'm going to discuss seems scalable. You buy varying places of land for 100K plus, you make $1,500 a month. Okay, but this business idea that was told to me by a good friend of mine who were very interested in trying to do this, we thought it was fascinating, and who knew, huh? Okay, so what it is plots of land for campers. They call it a hipster's haven, I guess, but I don't call it that. Plots of land for campers is what I'm going to say. And this is how I heard the story very recently, okay? A group of friends and I were going to Zion National Park, and we were so excited to explore and get lost. Except in this world of COVID, all the hotels were shut down, as were national park campsites. Regardless, what were four already woe-weary humans to do? One of our industrious friends was not to be deterred and said, "Don't worry, guys, I got it." And got it he did. He found them a pay-for campsite on private land. And the rancher who owned the place told us he makes more on campers than he does on cattle. And not to mention, it's a twofer. You get the tax breaks for agriculture and the ultimate low maintenance rental income. I mean, literally, the bathroom is a hole. You dig your own hole, okay? And this is my conversation with the other entrepreneur, and it got me thinking. You see, Kate Hancock bought 3 acres of land in Joshua Tree for $10,000, and I couldn't believe it because my motto is question everything. I said, there's no way in hell you can get land in Joshua Tree for $10,000 an acre. Turns out the joke is on me, okay? Lo and behold, in Joshua Tree, at the time of this writing, there were 222 locations that you can buy on average for $10,000 to $22,000. So old Kate here decided she wanted a business that was low maintenance, low cost, low risk, and didn't have much wear and tear. A plot of literal dirt appears to hit those parameters. Kate bought the property for $10,000 and she bought it with straight cash, which although it's not a ton, it's still a good chunk of change, but in real estate, it's not a lot. I would like to see what kind of funds you could have trying to finance this business and purchase the land that way, finance 10 grand. That would be interesting. But anyways, regardless, $10,000 in cost. She puts it on 2 websites, which you all already know, AirBNB and VRBO, or vacation rental by owner, under a category I did not know they have, campsites. Interesting. So what Kate does is Kate charges $50 a night, and say she says that she brings in $1,500 a month on the site. So let's do the math. Airbnb charges a 3% fee to list when somebody books. Land tax. This changes and varies state by state a lot, but the national average is about 1%. I will drop a link in the description so you guys can have a link to check what land taxes are in your state. And there's really 0 other costs. That's a 96% profit margin, and Kate is at break even in 7 months. Not to mention there's a potential appreciation of 3 to 5% per year and no depreciation because there's no building and there's nothing on the property. So Kate takes home about $1,455-ish a month on dirt. Not bad. And it's also scalable. There's a lot of campsites, or there's a lot of, national parks around the country. There's also another idea we have about campsites for people close to hunting grounds. That's something else we could talk about another time, but perhaps Kate gets tired of answering and those pestering Airbnb questions and VRBO questions, and which is a problem for some people. So what you can do is you can bring on a manager and split the profits with them for whatever percentage you want, say 25%, and you're still making a return of $1,095 a month. So when I'm modeling out my investments, here are some assumptions. Okay, the average allowance per acre is 10 campsites, so we can theoretically host 10 people per night on each acre. Assuming you have on average 1 person per night, according to Kate, during high season that would be 5 to 10 people, and during low season it could be empty. My secret, or Kate's secret rather, is to use military spouses by bases that are local. They handle online property managing and really run this, and I buy the property. I give them a vesting schedule for equity as I'm a passive investor. They're efficient, highly competent, come with built-in military security, and are usually underemployed given how much they have to move. They also end up driving a lot of campers to the site through the base and network. So what she said is she's going to experiment with shared land for grazing with cattle ranchers in return for them doing cleanup and policing. So their cattle they have cleans up the feces and the shit that's left behind. So you got to have some sort of trash, some way for them to dispose of their trash. But in the rules, you're charging that deposit. If they leave it dirty, you're going to keep that deposit, right? Okay, so this is campsites. This is how you can monetize raw land. What are your thoughts on this model? This was sent to me, the story, by a good friend. This is not my idea, but it's something I am very heavily considering. I think it's a low cost of entry. I think it's low risk. If I lose $10,000, I can recover. I'll be fine. It's interesting to say the least. But if it's something you're interested in, reach out to me. Maybe we can partner and do it together. Let me know what you think in the comments. This is how you can monetize land amongst many other things, but I thought this idea was super, super interesting. Wanted to share with you guys. I forgot my dad's lapel pin. I wanted to say thank you so much for all the sympathies and condolences you sent my way last week. Keep the comments coming. Please like and subscribe. I hope you guys have a very great day, and we will talk tomorrow. Ciao.